anything.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Norris has made the motion. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
Linda has second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Maybe I was, because I'll be the abstention. I was not here last month, on which I apologize. Okay, thank you. We're going to move a little bit off the agenda to move things here. Because we have a number of things going on here. So did I hear you correctly? Vicky will not be here. So is there anything that she left notes on legal?
The only thing is just that the regs were posted in their final form and they're now in effect. So John, the reg that we, you wanted done about the evaluations is now in effect. So that's good to go.
Thank you, everybody who helped out on that. I appreciate it.
Okay, good news. That's real good news. Okay. Also trying to move things here. I'm taking a look at our coursework, the schools and courses. Is there anything that raises a red flag to any of the members, or when we were reviewing these, or do they look good to go and need to be officially moved with a motion and a second and so forth?
It probably should be officially moved and seconded. They were all, they were basically all AQB approved, so.
Okay.
The motion to approve.
Okay, Shauna has made a motion to approve. Hang on, as I get my crayons here to make notes. Okay, Shauna has made the motion. The
I'll make a second.
Norris is
second
a second. Comments, concerns? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Ayes,
Aye.
nays? None. Okay, we pass unanimously. Great. So we've taken care of the schools, and we've taken care of the legal side of the fence here. The next thing, now I'm going back to the top here, the ASC. Is there
Nothing.
what is on the agenda? Anything to be a report there?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. We're good with the ASC. All right. Is there anything, let me just ask a quick question. Is there anything we need to address by the commission from our visit we had from our folks, either by Zoom over the summer here? Are we everything okay as of November 10th? We've sent in what they needed. We've passed muster and everything, or is there anything outstanding we as a commission need to address?
No, everything is, we're working on, our licensing department is still working on making some minor corrections they did the temporary appraiser corrections. So they're just making some minor corrections to the AMC application and working on getting it all up online.
Okay.
So, but other than that, we're okay.
Is there a time frame to having things up online that they have expectations, and are we going to meet that?
They don't have any expectations. They're working. I've met with Mike Elliott, head of licensing, a couple of times about everything. It's just a matter of, gaming and recreational marijuana taking priority of everything. So.
Okay. All right then.
And the other thing was there was a couple of edits again to regs and statutes, and those have been sent to legal, and when the next session opens, they'll be ready to go.
Okay. Very
They're
good.
they're things the legislature has to do.
Members of the commission, any other questions on this topic on the ASC, or that you'd like to throw, have addressed? Okay.
Jerry, the only thing, I got an email very late last night from Brad Swinney that I sent over to you that gives a little bit of his background, because he's going to be on representing the Appraisal Foundation for the PREA process.
and that's at 9 o'clock. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
he
on
said
that?
he'd come on a little bit before 9, and I gave him like who everybody was and all that kind of stuff. So we should be okay with that.
Okay,
all right.
we'll see where we are on the agenda when he starts to pop up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
As efficiently as we can. Great. All right. New business. It says approval of the 2022 proposed real estate appraisal commission meeting dates. And I have mine over here. Is there any issues by anyone? I can see that we're having August off, and we have our dates all set for the other 11 months of the year.
Motion to approve.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, are we anticipating still doing these meetings at a minimum through April? Is that correct? Was that my
Correct.
understanding?
DTP sent out directions on that, some guidance saying until the end of April of 2022, we will be virtual until then. And then I
Okay.
suppose guidance will come out sooner to that time to let us know how we will proceed.
All right, then. So
Okay.
we will be doing these on virtual at least through until the snow starts to melt, and it hasn't even come yet. So, all right, 6 months from now. All right. Any questions, folks? Now, I believe we have to make a motion to accept this schedule.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Oh, and can I get a motion, please?
Did.
I'll make the motion to approve the 2022 real estate meeting dates.
Okay, and I think Shauna, I just saw you I'll get you in the second slot, okay? A seconding, is that okay? Okay, I see the thumbs up. Great. Questions, concerns? Hearing none. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Okay, so we can take care of the approval of the 2022 real estate meeting dates. All right, so we've set those up. All right, number 2, Christina Laporte, RCR applicant, log approval and sample selection. That was what was sent earlier, or, a little bit ago this morning. Is that correct?
Correct. She's in, she's looking to upgrade to residential. So, I don't know if you just want Linda and Shauna to go through it after the meeting, pick out a few and email them to me.
Shauna and Linda, what's your schedule? Do you want to take a quick look right now and make a note of that, or how do you want to proceed?
Seen it. When did it come?
It just came this morning. It got held up.
Yeah, so I don't have it, just so you know.
May have to break it up a bit more for you, Shauna. Where I sent to you, they don't receive as large as everyone else. So I'll break it down into 4 instead of 2 for you. And then you should be able to get it. I will do it as soon as I can.
Okay, that being said, then I think it's best for Shauna and Linda to, when you look at maybe after the meeting, and then forward those over.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah, just pick out like 3 of them each or something, and email me them and I'll let her know.
Okay. Will that work for you, Shauna and Linda?
Yeah, except I haven't gotten that email either, so.
Okay. It came through, just to give you a reference point, at 8:10 this morning, or it did anyway.
8:10?
on mine.
Okay, I'm gonna reboot it and see if it'll come back again.
Yep.
As I said, I spent a lot of time with Microsoft yesterday, so sometimes it takes longer for the corrections to get done.
And the second.
So
portion
much
would
trouble with
be
these
to let them-
files. Since we had so much trouble with files, has there ever been thought that you guys will have some kind of drive or something that we could all just go look at? I know we do that for the CCMA, that's a state OPM committee. We have just share files, so we don't have to worry about emailing such large files.
I have no idea.
That's something I can certainly ask IT if that's something that we could proceed with, DCP IT. If there's a shareable file that we can send out to just commission members and give permission to just commission members. I will inquire about that.
please do. I
Would make it
think
better for you.
Shauna's point is well meant, to try to
Yes.
get this moving forward. Thank you.
We'll check
Okay,
with
so
them and
that's,
update.
all right, so therefore, you folks will be able to take care for Ms. Laporte, and we'll move that forward. All right. Next on there is Robert Andrews, RCG applicant, log approval and sample selection.
Yeah, you guys should have gotten that with the meeting minutes. I had sent Jerry the log ahead of time to make sure it looked okay to him, and Jerry, you indicated that's how New York does their log, so it was fine.
It is fine. It's got a couple nuances, but that is the rules of the game in the Empire State. And it is more than fine, okay? Just it looks different, but they cover everything, okay?
Yeah, he's a farm credit employee looking to upgrade. So it's all commercial work, or mostly commercial work.
Okay. Did anybody take a look at that over in the last, week or so and had reports that you would like for him to submit?
I looked at it, and my question was the New York thing, because I know in the past, I only remember one time somebody submitting samples from New York, and we sent them back and asked them to bring back samples from Connecticut. So I didn't know if that was all right. And if that's okay, what you're saying, then I can pick a couple over here real quick. If you
Okay,
want.
because he had some in Connecticut and some in New York.
Yeah,
He had broken it up, so.
he's got a significant number in Connecticut. Okay.
All right, so you're okay with that? So I would like to see, just as some of his most recent stuff, the 1518 John Fitch Boulevard, South Windsor.
Okay,
He's got a lot of farm, first of all, can I back up and ask a question? He's got, there's some residential stuff on here, like residential vacant lot. Is that, I mean, usually we just see commercial properties.
right, but technically as a certified general, you should be able to do residential also,
So that doesn't matter, okay,
right?
all right.
You want
Right.
me to look at that?
If you want to pick one, Linda, that's a residential one, yeah, so let's pick that residential lot one. That's 199 Shippey Schoolhouse Road in Killingly.
I would like to see the 253-291 North Main Street, South Windsor, the equine facility. That's the last one he put, which was done last month on 10/15/21. That'll be his most recent work product.
And the only other one, if he gives us that one, that's fine, but there's a property down in Westbrook on Boston Post Road that I think would give us a better understanding. That's 2046 Boston Post Road, Westbrook. And then I'm good with that. If we get the horse farm, the horse farm will tell that he can handle agricultural ants and stuff. So I think that'd be fine.
All right, and then obviously we need one that shows a cost approach.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, there, one of cost, yeah, asking for something with a cost approach
Yeah.
in it. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay,
How, Linda Robitaille, what's that number up to? How many reports is that?
that's 4 plus 1 with a cost approach if none of those have it.
Okay, and I'm gonna add a sixth, the one in Lyme, Connecticut on Bill Hill Road, please, 0 and 78. And the reason why, it's a deed restricted farm with residents. That's gonna be a pretty complicated entity, and we'll get a good sense of,
Okay,
where we're at, okay?
no, that sounds good.
Okay. I think that is, we need a motion to accept the log approval.
I make a motion to accept the log as submitted.
All right, John has made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll
I'll
second it.
second it.
Okay, I think Linda beat you to it, Norris.
Yes,
Okay,
she did.
Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Okay, we are good. Okay. Now I move into old business.
Okay, Jerry,
Yes,
under old business, we need to add Kirk, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Bucknet. That was my mistake for not adding him originally. You saw him in May and had asked him to come back in November.
okay. Can I get a motion to add Mr. Bucknet to today's November's agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Linda's made the motion. A second.
Second.
Norris is a second. Ayes.
Aye.
Abstention. So Mr. Bucknet is now on the agenda, and I have put that under old business number 4. Okay, for your records. Okay, I go to old business now, and let me ask, I show 8:45, and the guest speaker is at 9 o'clock. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, let's move right on into number 1, Joseph Nardini, RCG applicant upgrading from RCR, sample review, tabled from the October 13th, 2021 Appraisal Commission meeting. Okay. This is for the experience credit, I surmise?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please, is Mr. Nardini with us here?
Mr. Nardini
Yes,
is
I
with
am.
us.
All right.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right. Welcome. And hello. Is your sponsor with you today as well?
Yes, Jerry, it's Charlie Liberty.
Good morning, good morning, Mr. Liberty. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Rasmussen.
All right, so we are to, I would surmise, we are reviewing Mr. Nardini's experience. Am I correct on that?
This is
Yes.
Mr. Rasmussen, this is Joe Nardini. This is our 3rd time back. We've had a couple of revisions that were requested by the commission. And this is, I believe, our 3rd revision being presented.
Okay. Very good. All right then. So just to make everyone aware, Mr. Nardini and Mr. Liberty, so you understand, as chairman, I can ask questions and so forth. I only vote in the event of there's a tie. Okay, so I just want to let you know where the rules of the game go. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right then. Well, are there any questions that members of the commission would like to ask Mr. Nardini concerning his work product? I know I have a few, but I will defer if someone wants to start or if you want me to jump in.
Jerry, why don't you start?
Okay. I'm cleaning off my register here a little bit here. Mr. Nardini, I got just a few questions and I understand how this can be stressful and so forth, so I'm going to try to not make it as stressful as they say here, but I have some questions so I can get a better understanding. Can you please bring up your report 224 North Main Street in Bristol?
Oh, I thought we were way past all that. We were working on one from the Main Street in Ansonia. That's the one we were asked to revise.
Well, I'm going through other reports, everything, the samples that were given to me, so I'm
Okay,
okay.
hold on.
Mr. Liberty, I'll ask you some questions on the one you asked to revive. I'm not going to ask anything that on the previous one. So Jerry needs a chance to do this, Mr. Rasmussen. Go ahead, Jerry. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Are you ready? You have that ready?
Commissioner, I have that report open, yes.
Great. Okay. First of all, I want to commend both of you and Mr. Liberty. Nicely done on page 29 where you have that condition legend. That really was succinct, straightforward, and well done. So, I don't see that too often. In fact, once in a blue moon. Okay, so Job well done, fellas, on that. It says in the report that Mr. Liberty did an inspection. What did you do on this assignment? So I assume you did not inspect the property.
Yeah, I wish they. I don't remember if I did or not, Commissioner. I did so long ago. I wasn't prepared for this. Like I said, we were working on that Main Street one in Ansonia. That's the thing that we've been revising. Let's see,
That's okay. I will defer because I wasn't here last month, so I respect that.
Yeah.
I was just
That's
looking.
okay. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, and I don't want to misspeak. The address is 224 North Main Street in Bristol, Charlie.
Give me the next page.
I'm just looking at page 9. It just said Liberty did the inspection. It didn't mention that you had signed it.
It's a one-story restaurant building. Yeah.
Oh, I remember now. I remember this now. I did go and do the photos of both the subject and of the comparables on this property, and I prepared the report also.
Okay. All right. Great. So you helped select or selected the comparables, made the adjustments and so forth as illustrated in this report?
With Mrs. Liberty, yes.
Okay, very good. It says in your certification of this report that you have done another appraisal in the past 3 years. Were you involved with that appraisal assignment previously?
Was I involved with the first one?
Yes.
No, I was not. Mr.
Okay,
Liberty was.
fair enough. I just wanted to get I'm getting a level set here. Okay. I noticed on page 25 of your report.
Well, let me get there.
Yep, me, and I'm going there too. Okay, we're both kind of using technology as best we can.
Yeah. Page 25, yes.
Okay. On 25, that's a comparable, okay, no, it's a sale on January 4th of 2021. And you make a nice comment here and you say, under the comments and comparables, no financing recorded at time of sale. This sale is past the retrospective date of this report. However, it is highly relevant. Your date of value on this, this is a teaching moment here, is December 31st, 2020. And I appreciate the comment. I applaud you for the comment, but just to let you know that if you fall within the marketing time and your time frames, you are still good because you are only 4 days off, 5 days off from your retrospective date of value. What you did is fine, but you will see a number of people who will argue on the academic side that may not be warranted. But I just wanted to give you that for your career moving forward. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now on page 24. Now I was bouncing here, so hang with me. We say here the sales price was $250,000 on the 21st of February of 2020, and then we say in the comments that Eric, and I'm going to mispronounce this, the seller, I'll leave it at that, okay, provided $350,000 in financing. So but then when I go to the adjustments on page 28, I'm not quite sure where you addressed it in your adjustment process. Could you explain that to me, or there may have been reasonings to, get on that property?
While I have the file open, Commissioner, I don't have the hard file with me because again, I wasn't prepared for this today.
Okay.
We were looking at the Main Street one in Ansonia last month, and that's what I prepared for.
Fair enough.
I don't have the hard file with me.
Well, let me step in. It's Mr. Liberty here.
Joe and I probably talked about this. We come across more and more of these sales that are 100% financing, and sometimes I see some that are even more. I don't always have the privilege of knowing. I sometimes believe that there may have been some additional work or improvements that people were doing. Working out equivalence is not common for me because I see so many deals with our investment world that are financed by sellers trying to in fact, more and more in the last couple of years. So we probably didn't make something, Mr. Rasmussen, a comment, but I'd like to hear what you think we should have done, because I've gotten some good direction from Mr. Galvin from the last meeting we had, and I'm always interested in improving. So tell me what your thoughts were on that.
Well, typically, Mr. Liberty, that here's the academic kind coming into on the adjustment side, there usually would be a financing adjustment category. And therefore, this is where, right after property rights appraised, was there anything that was unique about the transaction that would need an adjustment? Okay. And therefore, when you have that would have been before in your grid, before the location adjustment, okay, that you illustrate on page 28 of this report.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where you would that is where we would typically see that type of adjustment.
We might find that if we had phone calls and we had people responding to our phone calls a little better like we used to do at one point. So apparently I have not given Joe direction on this. We can try to improve it and give it and make it part of our future activity. I can tell you though, with my experience, and too, I think talking to agents and talking to sellers, especially attorneys, it's difficult to find out the real answer. Now, when we were doing much of these things in my younger world, my partners never gave answers to appraisers. So my personal experience is that it's difficult to get that information.
Okay. All right. That's all my questions for that report. I have some questions on a couple other reports. John, do you want to jump in, because I know we're with time, or I can just get in and out in about 2 minutes on the others, and I'm done.
Keep rolling, Jerry.
Okay. Could we please go and take a look at the report in North Branford that you did on May the 11th of 21 at 2374 Foxen Road?
That report is open, Commissioner.
Okay, could we go to page 38? I'll just have 3 quick questions. It's the only questions I'm going to ask in the income approach, and I ask questions you can defend and support. And that's what I'm looking for. Are you on page 38?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On your table, first year stabilized income, and I was looking at it here. You use estimated vacancy and credit loss of 10%. You use a reserve for replacements of 9%, and you came to a cap rate of 12.10. Just if you could briefly or quickly, how did you arrive to those 3 separate figures? Or what did you take into consideration? Or is yours?
The vacancy loss rate was obtained. There's a website that I look at that gives vacancy loss rates for different properties. And that's where I would have received that. I'm sorry, the second part of that was, the replacement reserves. If you go to the next page, I have a breakdown of all the reserve replacement calculations. You see that?
Yeah, I do.
And that's the number that I used. And it comes to 9%.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And your cap rate?
And then if I take an estimated sale price used at $567,000, divided by, excuse me, take the income, net income divided by that 567, it comes up to 12.1%.
Okay. So then you may have had a typo when you get to page 41 of the report.
That's possible. Yes, sir. Page 41.
Yeah, where you end up using then a cap rate of 12.2.
Mm-hmm.
So you just,
Well,
no matter how many times you look at the report.
Yeah, here's what happened, Mr. Rasmussen. Normally what I would do is I try to get a correlation between all of them. So if I look at above at the band of investment numbers also, plus that other cap rate that was used in the NOI calculation, I went with the 12.2, which is supported right above, if you see that.
Yes. Okay. Like I
should have,
said,
Commissioner Galvin pointed this out to us last month. I probably should have put one more sentence underneath there explaining how I came to that. And by the way, on the one that I submitted back for review again for Main Street and Ansonia, that paragraph or sentence, excuse me, has been included.
very good. I have, like I said, if you could defend and support your positions, that's what these questions were. You've just done that.
Yep.
So I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John?
Hey, gentlemen, Joe and Charlie.
Hello,
Read-
Commissioner.
All right, I got your report. I went through and I just got some questions here. And I know we're running out of time, Jerry.
Keep going, John. Let's finish this up.
All right, so I see you added the cost approach.
Yes, sir.
And so if you go to the cost approach in this report, which is on page, let's get there, page,
42.
thank you.
You're welcome.
On the cost approach, where in this, I know this is the form from CoreLogic. I know this is what everybody's starting to use now. I understand that, and it's accepted within the industry. But I just got a couple quick questions. Where in here does it show the contributory value of the site improvements?
If you go almost to the bottom under miscellaneous, you see land.
Yeah,
Is that what you're referring to? You said,
yeah,
and then you see
those are your
value.
estimate of your site costs?
Yes.
And what do those consist of?
Oh, I'd have to go back and look at it on the, on
Well,
their
what
site.
normally would they consist of?
What normally would they consist of? Simple excavation, nothing extravagant, grading, that sort of thing.
Okay, all right, and on this report form, you picked 15% for physical depreciation.
Yes.
Okay, can you just explain to me how you came out with the 15, or why you felt there should be a deduction for depreciation in this particular appraisal?
The existing buildings are older, and the bones of those buildings are still going to be there. The outside facades, the brick, the basement areas, those are not being renovated. So I thought that deserves some sort of a depreciation adjustment.
Okay.
The only thing is it's an interior fit up.
Right, I got that. All right, I just want to ask a couple questions. Now, can we go to the scope of work real quickly on page, at the beginning of the report? You have a scope of the appraisal?
Yeah, what page are we on, sir?
15.
15, okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So in this, if you go read the scope of work rule, your scope of the appraisal is very limited. Okay. And I'm just going to point this out to you, that one of the things that we have to talk about is the intent. There's nothing in here which actually identifies that the scope of work was just to appraise the property basically upon completion. There's nothing in here. So I was looking for an as-is value because I thought you were appraising the current market value of the property. I just want to point out that I think in the future, we talked about this last time, there's the appraisal analysis, standard 1, which you identified in this particular update. And then there's, standard 2, the actual communicating of the report. I think you need to review that and go back if for future reports, and just be a little more detailed in your scope of work. If you want to call it the scope of the appraisal, that's your reference, but preference. But I think you need to go in and identify there's nothing in here that really states the intended user is. It does state in the report that above it, the client is the State of Connecticut Real Estate Appraisal Commission for review purposes, which is fine for us. But going forward, I think you should review that scope of work rule and be a little more detailed in what the nature of the particular assignment is, because our goal is not to be misleading, which is part of the scope of work rule. So that's, I want to say there. The last thing I want to say is if you go to page in your report, if you go to on your overall rate on page 65. So 65, you have a net operating income of, are you there yet?
Yes, I am.
Okay, on the top, you see where it's stabilized net operating income, 331,367. You cap that at 7% and come up with the 4,733,000, and then you round down to 447. Okay, if you go to the previous page where you have your not the previous page, your overall rate on page 60, you calculate an overall rate by the mortgage equity analysis of 6.9, and then you round that down to 675, 6.75. Okay, yet you used 7%.
Yes.
Can you explain why did the big jump?
If you go to page 61, underneath the economic indicator chart, there's a paragraph there that I included that I thought would explain that, because I think you and I discussed this last month too, and you just said you need an explanation on why we ended up there.
Right, and this
So
is what I want to
put
point
that
out. So you got to remember,
I'm sorry.
you have my point is, I'm still harping on the communication problem. So you've obviously explained to me enough that you understand this process, the methodology, et cetera. But you know, in the communication process, you make these jumps, okay? And there's really no explanation of, you know, the explanation between the jumps is not really there. It's throughout the kind of the report. So I think you understand the theory. I think you understand the appraisal. Obviously, you got this experience as you've gotten to this point. But I think going forward, I really highly suggestion that you focus on communicating your analysis to your client, communicating the analysis to the reader in the report, so there's not these big jumps, you know. And you might want to back up before you submit a report or a section. It's hard to take the whole report and start doing it, but maybe if you start with the scope of work going forward and then take each section as a time and try to get a little more detailed. It gets easier and easier. The more you write that way, the easier it is. But I think that's where your weakness is, Joe, in your reports. But I think you demonstrated in this report that you understand the appraisal process. Jerry, that's enough for me.
Okay. Other members of the commission, Linda, Shauna, Norris, any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Shauna, you're okay? You're on mute, Shauna.
Okay.
Okay, and Norris? I assume Norris is with us. He may be on mute as well. Okay. I haven't heard any other questions.
I'm sorry, Jerry, I was on mute. I'm good.
No problem. Mr. Nardini, do you have any questions for us before we take a vote?
I don't believe so. No, Charlie and I are good. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. Since we have now concluded this portion of it here, it is time to make a motion to either accept Mr. Nardini, his credits and so forth, or not. Is there any motion to be entertained on the table?
I make a motion that we accept Mr. Nardini's works of work.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Norris seconds. comments or thoughts before a vote? Hearing none, I call the motion to a vote. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions? Mr. Nardini, congratulations. Okay,
Thank you.
when you go through these things, we ask for you to defend and support, and you did with my questions. You had no idea where I was going. I understand, and we understand it's stressful, and we also, though, hope we make this a learning experience as well that helps you in your career. And I wish you, as on behalf of this commission, nothing but the very best in your career moving forward. And now Linda Robitaille, please step in to inform Mr. Nardini what the next step would be for him.
All right, so we will notify PSI that you are approved to sit for the exam. I would say Friday or Monday or whenever after that you feel ready to sit for the exam, you can call them to schedule your appointment.
Will you copy me on that email, Linda?
Um,
The one you're going to send to TSI?
I don't send it, our licensing department does, so, but
Oh,
once I
okay.
have the, but they'll let me know that you've been submitted and approved to sit, and I will let you know.
Thank you very much, Linda.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And nothing but the very best, and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Okay,
You too.
thank you. Now we're going to move forward here. We have a guest here, Mr. Sweeney. Thank you very much for being patient from the Appraisal Foundation. I know that you were scheduled for 9. We were just, as you were listening, we were concluding some business here. So it's sorry we ran a little late, but we thank you and the floor is yours, and welcome to the Nutmeg State virtually.
Well, thank you. I was no problem waiting. I'm happy to be here and share a little news on Perea with you, or any other questions you may have about what's going on with the AQB. So I want to answer your questions and present as you as best fits your program here. I did come with a PowerPoint, but how do you want to proceed it?
Whatever you think is best.
Okay. Well, I'll attempt to go through that and
I gave you
see if I
permissions,
can
Mr.
share a screen here.
Sure, I gave you permission, Mr. Sweeney, so that you have full permission to share your screen. So you should be able to do that at this time.
Okay.
Let me know if you have any problems at all.
I've only got 2 monitors here at the house. I work with 3 at the office. So hopefully I have enough to see what I'm doing here. And
Great.
There you go.
okay, so you're seeing okay. Start this from the top. All right. Looks like we're in business. Okay. So it's hard for me to know where any particular group of people I'll be talking to are in terms of being up to date with the practical applications in real estate appraisal, or as we've come to call it, Perea. So this hopefully will get us a good level set for questions. I'm Brad Swinney. I've been a member of AQB, completing my 4th year. 2022 will begin my 5th. Let's go through this. So Perea's history. First, the primary shortcoming with the apprentice model that we've noted is an unintended barrier to entry that involves the difficulty that many applicants have, through no fault of their own, in finding a supervisor. The concept of PREA first came up within the Appraiser Qualifications Board back in 2015. They worked through a first exposure graph, a feasibility study, and the feasibility study was around maybe TAF developing a model PREA program, and then allowing PREA providers to use that as a guideline or an equivalent. That feasibility study did a couple of things for us. It showed us that if you, we sent it out based on and maybe all virtual video gaming kind of environment, which is really we found to be overkill, but also very expensive. It can be adequately, the training can be adequately provided online through a number of different methods, computer-based learning, video tutorials, and just, simple tests and steps along the way, which will show up later in our presentation. But after that feasibility study, we stepped back and thought, well, much better to be very specific about all the content that we would require in a PREA program. And that was where the second exposure graph came out. Then after extensive comments that we read all the comments and consider them, take them to heart. We adopted PREA in October of 2020 to become effective January 1 of this year. Let's see. All right. So PREA provides an alternative to the supervisor trainee model. We do require participants or applicants to complete all of their qualifying education prior to entering a PREA program. And this requirement simply takes into account that PREA is supposed to be where they demonstrate their ability to apply what they learned in their qualifying education to real world scenarios, albeit in an online environment. And a couple of notes on that last bullet point concerning specifically not intended to provide competency. It provides minimum qualifications. Where we're coming from on that is no one is competent in all property types and markets. PREA requires applicants to demonstrate application of QE to a variety of assignment scenarios in a virtual environment. And PREA will certainly provide more breadth of experience than most apprentice programs. And this is simply because of the limitation of apprentice programs, because the trainee is limited to the market that the supervisor works in. So they most recently may never have seen a declining real estate market, depending on when they started. They're probably going to be focused on a very narrow subset of residential property types, whereas PREA is going to take a wider scope and give them exposure to more markets and property types. There are sometimes, if apologies if I read to you off the next slide that was going to show, because I've got both in front of me. So on an overview, it's available for licensed residential and certified residential. Providers must offer training on all topics, and that gets back to the breadth of experience I was talking about. And it, per the AQB set minimum, it can provide up to 100% credit for the LR and CR, and count for the residential portion of the CG, which is 1,500 of the 3,000 hour requirement on the CG. It does require periodic mentoring or checking in with the mentor at various steps through the program. The participants must complete USPAP compliant appraisals in order to, on these different property types in order to complete PREA programs. And once someone has successfully completed PREA, they still have to sit for the national exam. So, that PREA only acts as a substitute or an alternative actually for experience, but not, we still have to sit for the exam. So there are two modules to PREA, the licensed residential and the certified residential. Someone with no experience would have to sit through both, to get a CR, or they could stop at the LR level if their state has a licensed residential. Each of the modules contains a list of required content, and this content must be included by the providers. Now, providers or potential providers are submitting concepts to AQB for review and comment before moving on with development of a program, or we certainly afford them that opportunity so that they can, they can look at the content requirements and the criteria, start a program or put together a program concept. AQB will look at it and say, yes, you're on the right track, or no, you're missing something here, or give them areas where they need to go back and focus before submitting a program for approval. This is an example of content requirements in the criteria. This just covers, as you can see, the very first portions, getting you through inspection and sketching. This is by no means an inclusive list or comprehensive. This just is an example of how it presents in the criteria. And of course, there's a lot more to the modules than this snippet. We've already gone over the minimum requirements allow it to account for 100% of experience credit. States can and have opted to have it account for less credit. And then the prerequisites are the QE. So that's all the QE for the licensed residential or certified residential in terms of hours. Then a little bit on mentors versus supervisors. Mentors fall under much the same requirements, although they are not required to take the supervisor trainee course, and mentors are not limited by the criteria in the number of applicants they may cover. However, PREA providers must ensure sufficient mentors for timely and adequate mentoring of applicants. So we don't want people languishing in a PREA program for lack of feedback or guidance from a mentor in topic areas. And so there's a framework set up for reporting complaints and AQB follow-up on these in cases where applicants are languishing. And the verification of experience, as AQB envisioned it, is a certificate saying you've completed. There is no partial credit for PREA. You either complete it or you don't. And once you've completed it, the provider gives the applicant, a successful applicant, a certificate indicating completion. This one, I think we've already covered the content here. So look at this one. The second bullet point here covers the various suggested methods of delivery that could be used. But again, providers determine which delivery methods they want to use, and when they submit their programs to AQB for review, you know, if we have questions about the adequacy in a particular area, that's when we would cover it before approving. But, you know, there are a lot of online ways to provide this training. Computer-based learning, video gaming, video tutorial, virtual assistant, and virtual reality training. We do have some guidance out there on where we think, you know, different delivery methods might be most appropriate. And that's what you're seeing on the guide note 11 here, or the snippet from guide note 11. However, again, these aren't mandatory. You know, we're not going to reject a program just because they didn't use a suggested method. If we can, if they can prove the method that they're using effective. So where are we with the progress on PREA to date? Our informal survey shows that we have 19 states and counting with some level of approval. 5 states have approved it, have explicitly approved it for 100% credit. Those being Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Montana, Ohio, and Utah. Then we have 12 states that adopt by reference. And some of these states have indicated they may need to make some rulemaking changes, just in their basically administrative changes in order to complete the adoption, but they anticipate being 100%. We have 2 states that have adopted for partial experience. That's California at up to 50% across the LR and CR, and then Pennsylvania at up to 25% for certified residential and 15% for CG. So what they're indicating there is they don't want to go for 50% credit on the CG hours for completion of the CR module. A note on that, for what it's worth, partial experience awarded through PREA doesn't solve the unintended barrier to entry that we have where applicants cannot find supervisors. So I'm not sure how that's very workable, or that anyone would look to enroll in a PREA program under those circumstances. However, that, you know, states do have the right to limit it. To date, we've had a few PREA concepts submitted, as I was referencing earlier, where we just tell them, okay, it looks like you're on the right track or you're not. And we've had a few, and to this point, I believe 3 come to mind that have been looked at and approved for further development. Beyond that, TAF had a Pathways to Success grant that they, you know, took applications on and ended up awarding the Appraisal Institute $500,000, a $500,000 grant for development of its PREA program. The Appraisal Institute is working in cooperation with the National Society of Real Estate Appraisers, which is African-American professional appraisal organization, on their PREA program. The Appraisal Institute was the only applicant to get their submission into that Pathways to Success by the application deadline. And it was a very promising program. I can tell you that, having looked at it both for AQB and then for TAF on the task force that was awarding the grant. So we look forward to their completion of that development. Go back here. Having said that, there are other very promising applications that we have seen, you know, submitted to AQB, not for the grant, but just, you know, folks that are working to get a program out and on the market. We do anticipate a PREA program available for applicants during 2022, and there are about 1,500 potential applicants that have expressed interest in PREA and a PREA program via a notification list on the Appraisal Foundation's website. So those are the high points. I would entertain any questions you may have.
Mr. Sweeney, thank you for the presentation. This is Jerry Rasmussen here. Here I was writing down my questions, and your last slide I was just crossing them off. You had a lot of answers there for it. So there's about 1,500 people who have, as you said, expressed interest or potential candidates for this program?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long will it take a candidate to get through the program? Is there, maybe I missed that.
Well, there is no minimum time requirement for completing PREA. And again, this gets back to the breadth of experience and required content of the program. So we're saying as fast as they can work through that required content, that's how long it will take. Now, I would envision that's going to be at least a few months for applicants, but we're not putting a 6 month or a year or 18-month minimum time requirement on PREA. It's as fast as you can get through the content.
Okay.
Successfully, obviously. Yep. Those check-ins with the mentor that we have in the content guidelines, you do not proceed to the next level until you demonstrated to your mentor that you have successfully completed the prior module.
Very good. Thank you. Other members of the commission, do you have any questions for Mr. Sweeney? And boy, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us today, by the way.
I'm very happy to do it. This is an important part. We understand that we need to tell people about PREA in order for it to be accepted. And so we've outreached to potential program developers, but also very importantly to Arrow and to different state boards. And we expect to spend quite a bit of time with state boards over this next year, and you're among the first. So thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you. Other members of the commission, do you have questions?
Yeah, Jerry, I have quite a few questions. I did notice as I was going through most of the material, I've gotten most of it off the Appraisal Foundation website and some other areas that I was investigating, that you're expecting this program to be about 3 years in order to get to this, I guess it's the certified point. That was the time frame that was quoted several times in the Appraisal Foundation information. I think that's great if we can do it. We find that most of the appraisers that come to us in this more traditional way that we've had, it's probably 5 to 6 years before they've completed everything. So they get everything done a lot faster. The problem I really have though, and I'm trying to figure out how you can do this. My understanding is this is going to be run through college level courses. So a college will take over this program and afford the students the classes. Where's the mentor come in? One place told me that they understood the mentor was going to be part of the college staff, that they would be working with them. But I haven't had that verified. So how does a person find the mentor? The other thing that seems like, I know you have a lot of videos, I've seen some of them and they're very good, but how does the person who wants to become an appraiser start inspecting homes? Who gives him this appraisal, this house needs to be appraised? How do they get that? Who gives it to them? Because I'm not seeing how, the first couple of times you go in a house, it's insane. You don't really know what you're looking for. There could be all kinds of stuff going on in the house at the same time it's happening. So I'm concerned about those kind of things. I mean, I've done a lot of work in the inner city and had to go into some pretty uncomfortable conditions as I'm appraising a house. That's certainly not the place I'm going to send somebody alone to if they get to go in alone until they're very well experienced. And, you know, I mean, my normal thing when I first started appraising in the areas I was appraising was that I would get to the house, call my office, say if I'm not outside in 25 minutes, call the police. So, I mean, you don't have that, anything set up for that. There's no backup or anything like this. I'm very concerned and about how we're actually training people to react in this. I've trained well over 24 people and gotten them certified. Part of my training is what in the world you wear when you go to work, how you react to people. You know, there's a lot of things that happen in the course of appraising that is not just intuitive. We can go through the process and tell them the how to do it, but the actual going through a house or a building and doing it could be totally different than they've expected. So I'm not sure how, first we got to take all these courses to get those done. And then somehow they get a mentor. No one has ever been able to explain that to me. Who is the mentor? Who supplies them? Is this something that now a trainee has to pay a mentor to work with them and help them through this? How is this all worked out? It's just not really clear. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not against it. The way that we do it takes so long to get an appraiser in, you know, in working and able to start moving through the whole process is very long. It takes too long. Definitely takes too long. But I'm just very concerned about, I feel like we're sending them to college and then we're having them take a bunch of courses and then we're sending them on their own. There should be at least some kind of time frame where even inspections are done with somebody who's experienced so that they know what they're looking at. I really don't think, and I said I've seen some of the videos, they're really good, but I don't think they're sufficient to guide the property just because they've seen a video. So I'm really interested in having this happen. I think it's great. It will definitely fill a need, but I'm really concerned about the methods that we're going through to do it. And we, by the way, in Connecticut, we don't have a licensed appraisal level, so we only have the certified level here for residential, or a provisional, which is somebody who's in training and working with a supervisor. Thanks.
So I had three basic questions from that.
Yeah.
One was about a college program. The other
Right.
was about home inspection, security, safety.
Yep.
And the third was who is a mentor and how do you get it?
Right.
Okay. College program. Not sure where that's coming from. We have had no colleges submit programs for review to the Appraiser Qualification Board. We do have a degree review program, and I actually chair that activity for the AQB, which is a very good program. And I would encourage you to have any colleges or universities you are aware of that have a good real estate program to apply for the degree approval program. And what we do with that program is we look at the content of the degree, you know, the different courses for the degree, and see how many hours of qualifying education it merits. And then we approve those degrees through AQB for whatever number of qualifying education hours they merit. This has nothing to do with PREA. This is only qualifying education. The distinction between PREA is not QE. PREA is the application of your QE to real world based assignments, albeit in an online environment. You mentioned that you'd seen some videos. So the home inspection, the neighborhood inspection, measuring photos, basically the property inventory that an appraiser would typically do, they are able to demonstrate that. That's one where virtual reality would be the best delivery method for that.
Okay.
And that was actually the piece of the content that was included in that one slide that I showed you. It just shows the content that's required. And I realize you're more concerned about how we teach them. You know, you do bring your full life experience to these, you know, concerning safety to these scenarios. And, you know, by the time you're going through this, you probably know when to feel safe,
Right,
or when not to.
right.
So, I mean, that is not required content that you need or don't need police escort for this inspection. Although I know appraisers that have done that
Yeah,
on,
we
on
definitely have.
assignments where it makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do you get your mentors and who are they? The providers, before they release a program for enrollment, will have mentors. So the provider supplies the mentors. So in the case of the Appraisal Institute, that's who would be doing it. They'll have a panel of mentors set up. So applicants will be assigned mentors through that process. It's not like a supervisor where they're on their own going out and searching for someone who might be willing to supervise them.
Excuse me 1 second, Mr. Sweeney. I'm not sure if you still need to screen share because we're looking at your personal emails now, and I wasn't sure if you were aware of that. So if you'd
Okay,
like to
so-
pull it down just as a protection for you, I'm sorry, I just wanted to interject with that. Thank you very much. Excuse
That's
me,
not a
everyone.
problem. Yeah, thanks for alerting me to that. I got so enthralled with the questions, I forgot to take it down. And now you know all about Plains Land Bank and their activities. Actually, you don't. That's just,
No,
I believe that was in suitable Farm Credit Code that no security was violated. At any rate, so those are good questions, Linda. But there is no college. I mean, so conceptually, you could go through to a university or college program that is approved for 285 hours is where they top out on the CG side. So for CR, it would be all the CR hours and less the 15-hour use PAP. And the reason colleges don't do the 15-hour use PAP is because it just doesn't fit in a semester program. And you have to have a use PAP qualified instructor to put it on, and they don't have those on faculty. So the closest many have come has been you finish their degree program and they have and they arrange for a use PAP instructor to teach over a weekend or, you know, over a couple of days shortly after your graduation so that you can check that box. And they know, and the use PAP instructor is going to have a full class because it'll be all these recent graduates of degree programs. Conceptually, the degree approval program is new enough in and of itself. We don't have a big volume of people sitting for the national exams that say, yes, I got my QE through, you know, South Dakota State, for instance.
okay. We do have, in Connecticut, the University of Connecticut has real estate programs that they run. And
Yeah.
Sure, is it a degree or is it just a, do you know?
I believe it's a concentration, I believe. It
No,
is.
it's basically you get a degree in finance and real estate. That's what it's a
Okay.
bachelor degree,
Right.
finance and
And-
real estate,
and
but
we
they
have
don't
analyzed-
offer this.
We'd be happy to analyze that degree in finance. So when I said a real estate degree, a lot of them are degrees in other areas with a real estate focus. But we will analyze the degree for hours of QE for free. This costs the universities nothing. So I wasn't planning on plugging this program while I was here, but I never overlook an opportunity to do so. I don't recall that University of Connecticut is one of our listed universities on our website. But it does require, all that's required of the university is give us a contact person who will supply us the time course outlines or the syllabi for the courses. And we need to know the specific content covered over the, you know, during that course. So typically it's like, well, you've got, I don't know, 15 or 18 classes that you get over the course of the semester. And, you know, we want to see what's taught in each session. Now we realize that there's some flexibility in there that it depends on how they progress through it, but we assume 1 We give universities credit for teaching the material correctly. So we don't put them through the rigorous course approval program that we do, say, the KISSOC or the Appraisal Institute or other education providers where we're looking at their courses. So we're just looking to see what the content is in the program, and we trust that they will cover that over the course of the semester. But again, that's separate from PREA. But you could go through this, one of those degrees and then enroll in PREA once you had the 15-hour use PAP and any other lacking education, qualifying education, because most often, and again, CG's an example where they most often come up a little bit short. Most of these programs do fully cover LR and CR in terms of the hours, except for use PAP. It's not uncommon for them to come up a few hours short on, sales comparison or cost and site after coming through a degree program. Because again, if it's a finance degree with a real estate focus, they're probably not going to dwell a lot in say cost or even sales comparison. They'll cover income pretty well. And again, that's typical. We look at each degree on its own.
Okay.
And the degree program's an all or nothing thing as well. So if you complete the degree as presented for our analysis, full credit for the QE that we say it merits. If you're missing one class, no credit.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 3 questions on PREA when you
Okay, go ahead.
Brad, thank you for coming and speaking to us. Appreciate it. And thanks for the insight on the Yukon thing, but that's separate from what we do. The 3 questions I have on the California, I'm going to use them example. They came back and did a partial credit thing. Do they decide how they're doing the rest of the credit yet? I mean, is if they're just taking 50% of it, then is it back? The other 50% has to be done. I'm going to use the term old school way, where they got to get a local supervisor and hit the ground in order to get the rest of the experience credits. Is that what they're doing?
I don't know. We're early enough in this process. And again, it was on the slide that it's an informal survey. It's what we're finding out from, contacts or maybe at an Arrow meeting or from various board members or task staffs that might have some insight into what's going on in the individual states. So we're trying to keep track of it, but we realize that there are a lot of nuances that we're going to miss at this point. And again, it's because we approved it in January 1 of this year. Some states' legislatures only meet every other year. And to the extent legislation is required, that could drop the process. And if it can be done in rulemaking or administratively by a board, well, then that happens more quickly. But apologies, I don't have an answer for you on what other avenues they're approving. But they must meet the minimum. So if they're saying they're limiting PREA to 50%, they've got to get the other remaining experience from either the training model, supervisor training model, or the practicum.
Okay, so I assume that I think it's a good idea. We have a shortage, obviously, but my obviously concern is the industry being watered down. Because one of our issues that we constantly see here, that you may witness, is we have a problem with supervisors who've gotten through the system who just aren't really training. They're just not instructors, etc. So I know there's an issue there. So on the you call it mentor? Is that what you're calling a mentor? The mentor side of it. Once you approve the Appraisal Institute or the ASA or one of their PREA's programs, is there around the mentor? I have a couple of questions. One, is there going to be? I know this is going to keep evolving, but is there something set up where the Appraisal Foundation can come in and do an audit of them? Number one. Number two, is there some sort of training program that the mentor has to jump through on the Appraisal Foundation side to prove that they have the competency to do this? And obviously meeting with the competency rule of USPAP. And three, is it strictly going to be up to those mentors? Are they going to be required to have any kind of certain requirements? And I think you may have touched this, but I may have missed that. Meaning so many years of experience, some sort of, instructor qualification or anything like that.
Yeah, so from the top, I will agree, just based on feedback I've heard from other state boards I've spoken to on other topics, that there are supervisors out there that aren't that good. And, there are good ones, and then there are not so good ones. And that creates headaches for state boards. I will also acknowledge that, and hurts the public trust. So we do not view PREA as a watered down experience. We view it as equivalent and often superior to the supervisor trainee model. Again, depending on the supervisor, right? So I mean that's the wild card there. We think almost 100% of the instances they're going to get a better breadth of experience through PREA because we know what the content is, and we're approving these programs directly through the AQB. States approve supervisors, and then the trainee gets whatever the supervisor exposes them to. PREA, they are exposed to a set amount of content across, I hesitate to say all areas of practice, but a much broader area of practice than you're going to get going through the typical supervisor training model or practicum for that matter. Audit. We audit programs. So there's a framework set up around self-reporting and complaint to the AQB so that, we can audit programs. We require, record keeping on the part of the providers that will provide for a robust audit when and where needed, periodically. And, but we are not at this, there's been no setup of here is the approved TAF training that one must go through to be a mentor. We're leaving mentors up to the providers. And we're viewing a mentor problem as a program problem. So if a program doesn't have adequate mentors, then that program can't move forward, or will be pulled if and until they address the problem. Now, we have had the discussion about, well, it's unfair to applicants if they're part of the way through a program and the program runs into problems. How do we take care of the applicants? We wouldn't just shut down a program and leave applicants stranded, but we would prevent them from taking on new applicants and make sure that they address the shortcomings that they had for those that remain in the program. And once they're fixed, they can reopen for new applicants. But it's not AQB or TAF going mentor to mentor and saying you're good, you're not.
Okay, so I got two more quick questions then. The process, the end process here is that the applicant basically just submits these hours and this work to the state, and because they're already an approved PREA program or whatever, that will we just be able to get to the point where we can just approve that administratively without having to pick that work up? Is that the goal? Is that one of the goals of it?
Well, in a word, yes. And what they would provide the state as a minimum is their certificate of completion. And you have that, the states can move forward on that certificate of completion as far as AQB is concerned. States, what we expect some states to do is they may say, great, you have the certificate. Now, could you go out and do a couple or three assignments and let me see how you do work in our market? State may well choose to do that. Say it's 100% subject to, or however. Again, AQB sets the minimum. The states can exceed the minimum. I would just hope, as I said, I don't think something like partial credit is particularly helpful. and this touches on another issue that's hot topic these days, and rightly so. When you look at the makeup of our profession, but diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's the supervisor trainee model cannot address that. And here's why. Most appraisers are, most, not all, Linda being a notable exception. Most appraisers are reluctant to take on trainees and will do so if that trainee happens to be their kid or their friend's kid or their nephew or niece. Now, that's not nefarious and it's not meant to exclude, but it would be hard to find something more exclusionary than our current model that's most widely used. So how do you defend that? So anyway, we're in hopes that PREA gives wider access to qualified applicants that are going to do a good job and get a good experience program to demonstrate their ability to apply their qualifying education that they have completed. We're wanting it to where the good high performers out there that want to be appraisers don't have any unintended barriers that keep them out of the profession through no fault of their own. That's the end goal. And we're not there.
I get one other positive. There's another positive to this too. And this leads to my last question is, as an employer, I have 2 provisionals right now. And it is obviously time consuming. You get a lot of responsibility, blah, blah, blah. The question I have is, in using just me as an example, in the future, when this is all set up and completely functioning, will I, as an employer now, be able to hire someone who is in the PIREA program with someone else as their mentor and use them as an appraiser? Will I have that option? Because the only reason I'm saying that is I know I have a lot of peers who don't want to take on trainees, not just because of the time and the money, but they just don't feel like they're good enough, or they can't afford to take that extra time. Yes, that's true. That's part of it. Where I think this program would, could make up for that. Is there any kind of provision in there where, on the USPAP side of it, where we're going to be able to do that? I mean, each state is different, I know, but will someone be able to apply? And for instance, in most states, I assume, be able to apply for a provisional license stating that they're part of this program, as opposed to having a supervisor. And then will they be allowed to go out and work for any appraiser they want underneath that guidelines, or that would hire? Will we as employers have that opportunity? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I believe you make sense here. I mean, the way I'm hearing your question is like, I can have somebody not licensed working for me that's a trainee, and they'll have a trainee license. Can they do that with PREA? So I believe, a state may, should certainly be able to set that up. However, what PREA is doing is it's envisioned that you will start the program and finish the program covering the content in an abbreviated time frame relative to the current model, and then be able to sit for the exam. And I think I might have missed covering it earlier, but yes, applicants will pay for PREA programs. So that would be, that's going to be how mentors get compensated. They'll be compensated by the provider, but the applicants are paying to enter PREA programs. And but that said, I what they do while they're going through the program, whether it's they're still a student, or they're taking time just to complete that program, or working at your office, I don't, we're not trying to control that. And in terms of they won't need experience hours from you if your state goes 100%. So that it's not like you need to be documenting that for them. But you're still signing the report, and you can still give credit to them for having provided significant appraisal assistance if they do so. And finally, someone having gone through Perea, even prior to sitting for the exam, they're probably going to be a lot more useful to you than somebody who's, no, I mean, they'll definitely be more useful to you than somebody who's just wanting to start a supervisor training program. They'll be more ready to hit the ground running, if you will. What you'll have to teach them is, okay, this is the property type and market that I specifically work in, and here's how I handle it. That's what you'll be teaching someone who's advanced or having finished the Perea program. You won't be teaching them, all right, here are some concepts that you need to know, to start helping me appraise things. They'll be much further along for you. And again, they should be ready to sit for the state exam when they've completed the program.
Thank you, Brad. You were unbelievably helpful. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for coming, talking to us. Thank you.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you very much. Shauna and Norris, did you have any questions?
Nope, I appreciate everything that he said.
Okay.
Norris has his hand up.
Are you there?
Yes,
I'm
Norris.
here. I just couldn't hear you.
No, I just said, thank you, Mr. Sweeney. I appreciate everything you said.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for your time, and you've enlightened us and able to take the time and answer questions. Linda has been very much on the forefront representing us on this, and you certainly have clarified a lot of points. So thank you very, very much.
Can we get that PowerPoint though?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to forward it.
Thank you.
It was my rehash of one that Lisa presented in March, so I just updated it, changed.
I think
I'll
this is
let her know I'm
fantastic.
sending the
I
work
commend
out.
you guys for doing, I mean to cut you off, sorry, but I commend you guys for doing this, because as somebody out here in the field who's, independent appraiser, trudging, it's the hardest part is actually, we're burning ourselves out. And, I know I can speak for some of my peers too, and trying to find that new blood to come in is just so hard. And I think having this program out there is a way the school, different schools or whatever are going to be marketing it. And I think it's just going to draw more people in. The two appraisers that I'm actually have right now, the only reason why they became appraisers is one of them, they saw one of the schools offered a special deal, so many courses in 1 year at a set price, and they grabbed it, and then they got hooked. So I think this is a good thing. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. And if you got buddies on other state boards, let them know that we're more than happy to talk.
Great, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you. And for you and yours, have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving holiday.
You as well. Thank you. Ready for me to leave, I gather.
Yep,
Yes.
you're more than welcome to stay as we move through the agenda. But yeah, I'm sure you may have other highest and best use things for your time. So,
Well, the
thank
Farm Credit Bank of Texas thinks so. So I better get back to it.
okay, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to say a word. Be well. Thank you.
Good one.
Take care. Bye. Okay, that was wonderful. Moving, I have two other things on our docket here. Under old business number 2, Robert Pellegrino requesting equivalent pre-licensing course approvals, tabled from the October 13th meeting of the Real Estate Appraisal Commission. So you will have to fill me in as I was not here. I don't know why it was tabled or what the issue or issues or whatever the situation is. So the floor is open.
All right, he had requested college approval for some of his college courses. He went to the University of South Carolina, I believe, and it's not one of the ones that the AQB has approved, but he does have a degree in real estate from them. I had sent him the information. He sent some of it back, filling in exactly how his courses fit the modulo, and it wasn't totally complete. It was just, he sent it the day before the meeting. I hadn't had time to look at it. He just sent some more information. So my recommendation is for me to put everything all together, take a look at it, and have him attend the December meeting to go over it with you guys.
Sounds like a plan to me. Is that okay with other members of the commission?
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm good.
That's fine. He has a supervisor. He has someone in the state that he's, I believe, is it Rocco Corsimo?
I think so. He does have somebody he wants to work with. He just doesn't want to retake principles and practice. And there's a few other courses that, may fit that he doesn't need to take, such as statistics and a couple other things. So he was working on getting the books from, and the pages in the book and PowerPoint type deal for me for everything.
Is it
So-
necessary to have his sponsor, his
Well, he hasn't
supervisor?
applied yet, so he's just looking for a waiver of some of the courses so he can apply.
Okay,
So he hasn't actually applied. So what I'll do is put it all together, send it to you, and have him come to the meeting so you guys can review it all, and hopefully I'll get it done and sent to you in plenty of time.
thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. And that on my agenda was everything until we added here, and Mr. Kurt here, who's been very, very patient, and we thank you for your patience. And as you
Thank you.
indicated to me, he was to come back. And Linda, can you give a little history where we
Yeah,
are?
he is currently a provisional appraiser. He came in May for an extension of his license. You wanted him to come back in November to see exactly where he was 6 months out. So
Okay,
he's here. He can fill you in on all the good news.
Sure, thank you very much. And I did find Mr. Sweeney's very interesting, actually. I've completed all courses, including the 15-hour USPAP. Linda has a copy of all those certificates, as well as my work log. I have formally approached Hartwick College for my transcripts. I should have those very shortly. Once I get those in hand, I will be sending those up to Linda with the application and the application fee.
you're a graduate of Hartwick?
I am.
So you
Played
walk,
Division I soccer for him.
yeah, you walk the streets of Oneonta, huh?
Oh, I love that town.
All
It was
four of
great.
them.
It was great.
I know the town quite well, thank you.
Are you a graduate yourself?
No, my dad was.
He
And
was, okay.
I was born in Oneonta. of all
Oh,
places.
wow.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I love it up there. Upper state New York is absolutely beautiful. Had a blast.
so let me understand, so I get it clear in my head here,
Sure.
that once these classes are done, are we almost all done, or where are we in your application process? Can someone help me?
He is done. He has all the course certificates. He sent them all to me, and he sent me his logs. So he's just waiting to, he's got to I'll fill out the application, send it in with his college transcript.
Yeah, basically, I'm just waiting on the transcripts to really finish the process, Linda, on my
So
end.
he's, right, so
I'm
he
not- I'm
should
not-
be. Go
I'm
ahead,
not
what?
sure on the transcript, but I believe that you will not be able to get the transcript to send to Linda. It needs to be sent from the college directly to Linda.
No, he can
Correct.
get it. Long as
Usually
it-
they do the same thing.
Yeah, but if he gets it, as long as he mails it to me in the unopened envelope, it's fine.
Okay,
Is what I tell them. Sometimes they have it sent directly, sometimes,
yeah.
and our mail department opens it anyways on me, so.
Okay.
um,
So let me understand. So once you have that, then you have to take the examination, or?
No, he'll be on the December agenda for his sample selection and log approval. And then
Okay.
he'll be there in January to go over his samples with you guys and approval to sit for the exam, but he needs his license extended to the end of April, so he has enough time to do it all.
So that you got it right to what I was boiling down. His time clock has ended or is ending, and he needs an extension. Do I?
Right, to the, yeah,
That's-
so to
that's
the
the
end of
bottom line.
April. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions from members of the commission?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Why did his timetable expire?
The 6 years was up.
6 years.
Yeah.
Any other
I'll make a
questions?
motion to, I'll make a motion to accept.
Meaning to extend it to end of April, Norris?
I'm sorry, to extend it till April.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the floor? Do I hear a second?
I'll
I'll
second it.
Linda beat whoever there, so, okay. Questions, concerns, or anything more?
I only have a comment that, I don't really have a problem to the end of April, but I can't see going beyond that for the future. Play
Yeah, I
everything
mean, he
else.
should, as long as, his sample should be good with his sponsor and, then he just has to sit for the exam, February or March, so.
Just putting that comment out because if for some reason we get to April, I'm just throwing that out there.
It will not happen.
It's good. I like it.
Okay, here, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I call the motion to vote to the floor. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays? Stepping aside, hearing none, you have till the end of April.
Thank
Okay?
you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy your
You as
time with
well.
the family.
In the event,
You too.
so you'll be on the agenda next month, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Taking Shauna's words here, I know before you know it, 6 months goes quick. So if there's an issue, let us know as soon
Absolutely.
as possible. So, it's not wait to the end and then have the sprint. I try to tell my folks, sprint early and coast at the end. Don't coast and then sprint, so. All right, very good. Enjoy the holiday.
All right,
Thank
you
you.
too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, I'm taking a look and it says any other comments or concerns? And that's what I'm crossing off on the agenda here. Anything else needs to come before us today?
I just have a question. I guess, how are we doing with new complaints? I mean, I haven't heard anything about any new complaints, and where is that? And
We've gotten a few complaints in, basically from homeowners upset that they tried to refinance and the appraisal didn't come in.
I thought we had
So-
like 32. I think you mentioned like 30 or 32 last month that were being looked into.
Yeah, that's how many I have total to deal with, so, but most of them are issues with, or they're from, we've gotten a couple from AMCs, about, use path violations because the sale was more than a mile away.
Do hear from a
So-
lot of my assessor colleagues that say that and I don't know if they have, but they say they're sending appraisers to the commission because there's some really bad appraisals out there. So I would
I
think that
haven't
that's
gotten-
more than not a value not being hit because of.
Right, yeah, I haven't gotten anything from any of the assessors in a while, so,
Hear about it all the time, so.
oh,
They say
I
something to
don't know
me,
where
I
they
know.
are.
I know the majority of them are probably what you say, but obviously there's got to be a few in there that have to be serious. Is there any focus being on those, vetting those out to figure out which the serious ones are and what's going forward with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working through them as quickly as I can to get through them all and try to get rid of the ones that are, just value type issues. And, waiting for responses from appraisers to come back to me and, trying to juggle it all with going into the office like every couple of weeks. So it's, it's taken a little longer than it normally does.
Do you think it would be beneficial that we know like how many are always active on a given basis?
I mean, I can get that number for you for the next meeting if you want.
Yeah, if we could have that, please, Linda, we'll put that on the agenda,
Okay.
and so we can go through this. And Linda, are you the only one doing the investigations?
I'm the only one that does everything and anything related to appraisals, appraisal management companies, timeshares, interstate land sales.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
me.
that said, Jerry, I got a question. So if Linda's the only one who vets these, right? we can't actually jump in and help because then if there's an issue, we can't vote. Is that how that works?
Exactly. And
we
since you
used
guys are such a short commission as it is of members.
Well, we used to do it, that is correct, but, and then incorrect. Because there was a time where I became like the grand jury for years, and then I couldn't participate in it. Linda, you remember that, Linda
I
Sepso.
do. I do.
And so.
Hey, Jerry,
they
I
would go
remember
in,
it too when I came on.
Yeah, we would do that, and then it kind of morphed and changed because, in part, what Linda Robitaille is saying here is because we are short members here. If, say I was the grand jury, for no other better word than that. Therefore, then we'd have 4. If someone then couldn't make it to a meeting or was conflicted out for whatever reasons, then we were down to 3. And the question came up because 3 out of our theoretical 8 doesn't mean did we meet quorum for these type of legal issues. That was the roundabout. So it goes to where Linda is at. Linda Robitaille is saying we can't use that avenue right now until we have other members on the commission then to go down that road again.
Right, especially,
That's the
especially,
conundrum.
right, especially if it's say it's a commercial appraisal and Jerry reviews it. And then John, you have a conflict knowing the appraisal or the property or whatever, and, abstain from hearing it. Well, then there's nobody with any commercial expertise even listening to it. So that's the issue.
Isn't there's got to be some sort of provision in those cases where we couldn't we assign it to an outside? I guess I'm being speculative now. But
Yeah, that
what
would
about
cost money,
I
so
don't
that
mean to
would be
throw
a no.
Norris under the bus here, but I think it could handle the bump. What if Norris went through and looked at them quickly and vet it through them or something like that? Would that help out the process, or could that help out the process?
I can look at them because I'm used to it after all these years. But like I said, the other thing I noticed what Linda said is you can't do it outside because that would cost. That's a cost factor, and that's a big deal. And I have one there, so it's kind of interesting because I asked Linda to look at one from somebody that I deal with. So it's kind of interesting when you said the number between 30 and 32. I'm glad Shauna asked the question. I was like, oh, okay, because I would remember all those years ago where Chris would say, hey, Jerry, or Mr. Buckley or Nick or somebody, and it would be done. And it's like I said, it's a different ballgame. You asked me to do it, like I said, I don't have a problem. I just didn't realize it was between 30 and 32. I was just a little taken aback by that. But
yeah, and my numbers are quite low of how many complaints. If you ask Jill how many complaints she has, and she's the only one doing anything for real estate, and hers are
God.
more than double mine.
Absolutely. I know that because there's 20,000 real estate brokers and agents and everything.
Yeah. So Jill's
So,
she's more overwhelmed than I am.
I think there's over 27,000
Real estate
which
members.
is quite a lot. And I don't know if I even dare say what my number of complaints are. Should I?
It's more than double mine.
It's more.
Jill, are there any families in the state of Connecticut that doesn't have either a salesperson or broker as a relative?
Well, those aren't, I wish my complaints involved that, but no, mine are, I have over close to 200.
Wow.
She's all by herself.
And investigate them and try to get answers from the salesperson, the broker, the complainant, then the lawyers get in. It's just, yeah. And then legal, and it's a daunting task, I will say. And I'm very new here. I only came on board less than a year and a half ago, and I still feel like I'm learning. And but my complaints are more about people feel that they've overpaid for a property because it's the nature of the market. So they're overbidding, and in doing that, they are waiving away all of their inspections, including septic, which we know is a huge ticket number. And then once they move into the house, they're like, hey, I overpaid for this. I gave them 50,000 more and the septic is defunct, or there's mold, or they have buyer's remorse. And they're
Yeah.
trying to say the agent made me do it. But you know what? Read your contract and don't sign it if you don't like it. Wait, there'll be a better market very soon.
Yes, definitely. It's crazy.
Yeah.
As a taking off from Shauna opening and the questions presented here, Linda Robitaille, can we put a list together for the next meeting as on the agenda of the complaints we have, you know, and what you can and can't say, so we can look at that, and let's earmark at least 30 minutes for this commission. We can go through this because we're going to, let's see, to explore different options or whatever to help you, because you're a one-arm paper hanger right now. And if we got 30 or 32 complaints hanging on out there, we have an obligation to find a solution. And I don't know what that is yet, but let's at least start. Let's not sweep it under the rug. Let's go forward here and see what we can do. Okay, is that,
Okay.
we can do that, Linda, next month? Have that
Yeah, it's
listed up?
fine with me.
Okay.
I
great.
just
Does
have,
that
Jerry,
work
just,
for everybody else, the other commission members, will that work for you folks?
that works for me, but I just have a suggestion that whatever before she submits anything to us, that she has Vicky look it over.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
to make
That-
sure
I
there's
would
nothing
think
in
that
there.
That goes hand in hand. They
Yeah.
work
Oh, yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't express that, John. Thank you. But it's good not to assume, you know what happens. There's a skid on that. So, good enough. All right, great. Thank you, Shauna, for bringing that up. Okay. Any other comments, concerns?
Yeah, Jerry, did you find my replacement yet?
Well, I did write a letter, you know.
Oh, good.
And I did make a call, and Meredith says that she's hearing things are being done right over there at the governor's office. So that's
Yes,
what.
we should be hearing something soon. It's in the works.
Oh, good.
So,
I mean, I
Oh,
don't want to
it's
leave you
more
guys
than
hanging
one?
with 4 people, but, you know, I'll hang on a little longer if you need me to, but I'd really not like to do it.
Do you know if there's more
There's
than one?
something about turning 74 that makes you feel like you should just stay home and play.
Well, I let them know that we really won't have Linda after December, so we're really in dire
push-
straits at this
good.
point. So she's pushing it through.
okay,
Right.
Hear
Thank you.
something pretty soon.
Okay.
very
You're
good.
welcome.
Thank you.
We get more than one, that we get 2 or 3, you know,
Yeah.
that
That
would
would
make
be
We can
sense.
hope.
Supposed to have 8, right?
Let's
You're
go
supposed to
ahead.
have 8.
Yeah.
How about let's get to 6? How about that?
So real
Well,
quickly,
Shauna,
Jerry,
we all know there's that criteria, you know, how many from a district, what political party, how many can be in the profession, how many be public members. There's so many layers to it that, you know, whatever, you know, but I'm with you. The more the merrier. Anything else, folks?
And,
this is John. If Linda, so December's your last meeting with
Supposed
us?
to be my last meeting, yep.
That's yours. Okay. All right.
So,
And then
but I
Linda-
said, I mean, I'm not gonna leave you guys with 4 people because you'll probably never be able to vote on anything. So, you know, if I have to go on another month, I'm okay with that. I don't want to just drop off and leave you in a bigger problem. But yeah, I would like to, as I said, stay home and play for a while.
So there's a motion on the floor to extend Linda's stay for another year? Is that what I hear?
No.
at least
No.
looking at the calendar that we approved today, there's no conflicts with my trips at this point, so at least I'm around. They're right before I go away, so.
Good. Do you want them before you go away, or would you like them after?
Probably before is always better.
Yeah. All right. Hey, great. Thank you, folks. Can I get a motion to conclude this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Norris's job. Norris makes the motion.
Right.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Donna's got the second. Ayes,
Aye.
nays,
Aye.
abstentions. Hey, to everybody, and even and you too, Jackie. I